There are 15 games on Tuesday's MLB slate, but which one should you be betting? That's what you're here to find out. First pitch on WagerTalk TV, Dan Alexander with you, and joining me, I got two guys that can break down a card better than anyone out there. It's Bryan Leonard, the dog whisperer, with us, and Mr. $2 Tuesday. That's right, Steve Merril in the house. He's got his first 5% best bet of the MLB season rocking today. You can go check that out over at his page. But guys, we got plenty to get into here on the show. Happy to be back with you, gentlemen, here in the saddle. Hop below in the chat if you're joining us live. Make sure you're hitting that like button as well for the work that these gentlemen are going to be putting in today. Bryan, I want to start with you, man, and Battle of New York goes today. And I think we got Garrett Cole on the mound once, and we're looking at David Peterson for the home dog in this one. Not surprising that the Mets are probably a home dog, but if you even just think of the recent form here for these two teams, maybe the team coming into this one is boasting a better record in the last 10 games than you might have expected. So Yankees, Mets, how do you see this one shaking out?
Yeah, you hit one of the reasons why I'm looking at this one. Big crosstown series, two of the hotter teams in the league, but although the Yankees have stepped back, I believe they're 3-7 the last 10 coming into this one, but still having a tremendous season. The Mets have been riding high. Obviously, the Mets need to win the series more, not only for the records, but for the bragging rights in this city. I watch a lot of the late night comedy shows and talk shows, and the Mets were all over them. Just a few weeks ago, everybody making fun of the Mets, one of the worst teams. I thought they were the Jets. Thought they just spelled it wrong. But, ever since then, ever since Grimace came around, this Mets team has been doing very well. And it's a stupid story, but I still like it. It's nice to poke a little bit of fun on a sports that we love so much. But Garrett Cole is one of, if not the best pitchers in Major League Baseball when he's healthy, no doubt about it. But he's still on a pitch count. And the bullpen hasn't performed as very well as of late for the Yankees. It was a strength early on, but lately they have not been nearly as good. So I don't think Cole's going to go more than probably 85, maybe 90 pitches here. That gives us an advantage late in the game here. And he's clearly the better starter. I'm not a big Peterson fan, but this line just makes it impossible for me to look anywhere other than the Mets. Sure, they're closer is not going to be there, but he hasn't been there much of this season overall. Yeah. And I do like the back end of this team, back end of this bullpen. So give me the Mets here at a nice price. That's what I'm playing in this Battle of New York here. The the hotter team playing at home with more of a purpose. Give me the Mets.
Man, as the more that things change, the more they stay the same. I get to be back on here with Bryan Leonard, and he comes on with a nice plus price, a barking dog at home. That's the big game breakdown for our man, Bryan Leonard. Hop below in the comments. Let us know how you're looking to bet that game or any other games you have questions for the guys on the slate here, because it is some pretty darn good matchups. We're going to talk Toronto and Boston with Steve here in just a minute, but first, democracy rules here at WagerTalk. We were just talking about it before the show, and you can check out the live stream over on YouTube. We have a poll posted there as we're mulling over the idea of getting you some baseball winners earlier in the day. We got a poll there. First pitch, you want it to stream live at 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. That's right. I'll wake up. I'll dust the sleep out of my eyes to get you some baseball winners here. Or do you like the time slot we get you at right here at 2 p.m.? Earlier the better. Keep it the same. Earlier the better. Out to a resounding lead here. You can also make your pleas for why in the comments below if you're watching on the rewatch. Shout out to the chat, though, joining us live. G. Hurt, City by the Bay, Wisconsin guy. My man, Lord Farquaad, in there now that I'm back as well. We appreciate you. Free Fuji saying that he's liking potential earlier shows here today, and it would be great for the days we got day game baseball. Steve, it's all evening here tonight, so you can really build a solid card here. That's why I love chatting with you guys. We have 4 games we're definitely going to break down, but the chat will decide any other ones that we're going to hit on here. Toronto and Boston, last night's game, you talk about damn good games. I mean, a back and forth affair, a just walk-off win there for the Red Sox, who are quietly rolling here a little bit. I think it was their 4th consecutive win. Correct me if I'm wrong there, Steve, but you think they're going to make it 5 here tonight, or are you betting this one a different way?
Got your back, and I get to correct you already. I believe it was their 3rd straight win, but they have won 8 of their last 9. So your point is well taken, Dan Alexander, and we're not going to get caught up in specifics here. They're red hot either way.
It is my first day back,
red hot. It is. A little jet lag. That food hangover. The tasting was last week, but you still got a food hangover. And then you did what? You went and visited, or what'd you do? Go to a wedding to get a feel of what a real wedding looks like? Is a little scouting, advanced scouting there?
That's the separation is in the preparation, Steve. You know that.
Separate. I have not used that one before. Great line today, by the way. The basketball camp I was working, the coach is like, you can be one of the 5 here, or you can be one of the 5 in the seats. Both are very beneficial, and both are very important roles. But you can decide if you want to be on the court or in the seats. I was like, that is fantastic.
That's strong.
I'm stealing that one. It is strong. I'm stealing that one for future coaching. Blue Jays, by the way, have lost 7 straight. So these really are 2 teams heading in opposite directions right now. And it's not a coincidence because they played 4 of their last 7 games against the Red Sox, and they've lost all 4 of them. Last night, a walk-off loss, always tough to stomach, and then 3 losses last week with Cleveland. Bryan Leonard's Cleveland Guardians in between. So been some tough teams, and they played Cleveland right before that, Milwaukee right before that. Oh, by the way, they've got the Yankees and the surging Astros on deck. So Lawrence Pressman's Toronto Blue Jays, a really tough stretch coming up. This is going to kind of make or break, I think, if the Blue Jays are going to have a season or not here in the near future. But I'm going to look at the total instead. I'm not going to try to guess if that falling knife bottoms. You love a good bottoming process, Dan, but we're not going to try to time it here. The over, though, does make sense to me. 13 runs last night, 9 hits and 11 hits each, so 20 hits in the game. Blue Jays had 5 runs on 9 hits the game before against Cleveland. So it does look like their offense is starting to pick up. So maybe they sneak a win out. But you look at the 2 starting pitchers also. This is a Gosman, the Gosman, who's now had 29 appearances against the Red Sox, 24 starts, a very mediocre 4.5 ERA. Obviously, a lot of those guys aren't in the lineup, but some of them are. But Bello's the one I worry about. His 6 career starts against the Blue Jays, a 5.4 ERA, and he had 2 starts last year with a 4.1 ERA. So a lot of these guys saw him last season. This is something I look at when I'm handicapping. I've got a strong 5% best bet, as you mentioned. I got my pitcher projection ratings working in that game, line value, situational setup. That's why it's a 5%er. This one I was close to using as a client best bet as well with the over because the pitching ratings and some other things do pop, but the line wasn't quite juicy enough for me in this one. And we talk a lot about key numbers in baseball. It's sitting at 9.5. Had this been 9 or less, I probably would have made it a client bet. But at 9.5, it's an opinion only, but I still like the over in this one between the Blue Jays and Red Sox tonight on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, it makes a heck of a lot of sense to me, especially if you can even get a semblance of a repeat of what you saw last evening there. I don't forget who mentioned it. It was G. Hurt. He said Blue Jays in the seats, not on the court. So I think that tells us which way he might be looking in that game, using Steve's analogy there. Also in the chat, Eric D., he's not over on Instagram because he says no day drinking here on a Tuesday. He says, no day drinking. Let's talk about the Phillies. And just for what it's worth, day drinking will be accepted across any platform. It just seems more prevalent with our friends joining us over on the WagerTalk Instagram channel. We appreciate if you're checking us out there, or you're checking us out on X. If you're on either of those platforms and you haven't already, you just see it in your timeline, make sure you hit that follow button. We're dropping single game videos, great promotions as well, so you'll never miss them, like the Fill Your Cart that we have rocking today. That's right. You can get the favorite handicappers play. If you want to get a couple of them, throw them in your cart, anything you can fit, and then use the promo code FILL2WIN. That's FILL to win 25% off. This is a deal that we sometimes will roll out here throughout the WagerTalk calendar. And, man, it's a great way to save across a litany of cappers that we have over at the site. So you can check that out. But, gentlemen, also in the chat, as he said, let's talk Phillies. My man City by the Bay also saying that this price just seems short for the Phillies, right? It's Suarez on the mound. He is going up against Skubal. He had some decent outings, and then in his most recent, really not what we had come to expect from him. And Suarez used to be used to be the ATM, where we would just say Suarez is on the bump. We won 10 straight when we were just saying bet Suarez to record a win. You don't even have to get creative because the Phils just seem like a terrific price. Yesterday, they absolutely thrashed Detroit, Bryan. I mean, is there any reason to think it's going to be different here today? And also, did the price stand out to you, or do you think it's short for a reason?
Yeah, this game reminds me. I did the WagerTalk today episode yesterday. I had two plays, and one of mine was the St. Louis Cardinals. And it's very similar to that one because I talked about the Cardinals pitcher yesterday not pitching well lately. Lance Lynn, he started the season well, got into a slump. In fact, he got hit really hard the last 3 games, but he was a veteran pitcher, and I thought he would bounce back. I think we're going to see the same thing out of Skubal here today. There was a lot of talk earlier in the season he was the best pitcher in baseball. He does not look like the best pitcher in baseball as of late, but he's still a quality guy who is very good, rarely gets blown up. And you're catching him here playing in Detroit, a good pitcher's ballpark, at a nice price, an underdog. And that's what it is here, is how often are you going to find Skubal as a home underdog? I believe he lost as a home underdog last time he took the mound. So I like that side here. I prefer that side. Suarez has been terrific. He's been a moneymaker. But if you were to place this line now compared to before the season started, you mentioned it. Suarez was a guy who was always pretty good, but one of the weaker guys in this Philadelphia lineup. Skubal expected to fight for the Cy Young Award this year. A lot of people thought Detroit was going to be improved. I was one of them. I didn't think they were going to win the division, but they thought they were going to be much improved over the past. And Detroit would have been favored, I believe, if this game was played in the first week of the season because of that. Now we've got a Philadelphia team who's been better than what we expected them to be, no doubt about it. Detroit has been a little bit of a disappointment, but from a starting pitcher standpoint, I think the big advantage here is for
and that was your point, is that when it looks like a trap line, that's because there's probably a lot of public money on one side and then bigger sharp money on the other side is what's keeping that line neutral where it is. And Bryan just kind of made a case for the sharp side on the dog here. I will say you're waiting for Suarez to somewhat come back down to earth. I mean, you look at his numbers on the season, they're pretty darn impressive to say the least. And you can't imagine a guy's going to finish with a 1.75 ERA and a 0.9 whip. But there's always one or two guys every year that are just lights out, especially guys that kind of come from nowhere. And he seems to be that guy this year. We have talked about the Phillies regressing at some point. I kind of thought that London trip would do it, and it did cool them off after their first win back. They went 1-4 the next 5. They've been kind of treading water. Yes, they're 5-2 their last 7. But if you look deeper down, they're now 6-6 their last 12. So they've been a 500 team since early June. And Detroit, though, unfortunately, doesn't give me a lot to work with here. They have scored 1 run or less now. Or, I'm sorry, 2 runs or less now in 7 of their last 8 games. So, maybe Suarez regresses at some point, but this isn't necessarily the team that's going to do it. I would lean under here. If I'm going to play this game, I'd look at the total. I think both pitchers are capable of holding both offenses in check tonight.
Yeah, G Hurt saying my Tigers can't hit. Well, at least last night, Shirley was ringing true there, and that's maybe to stay away. And then we got a little bit of a split, so hop below in the comments and let us know which side you're going with. I know a lot of folks. We got some Phillies homers. One of them sitting right here. This was one that I saw the number and I was like, man, I could make a case either way in this one. But to Steve's point, maybe pitcher props are the better way to get after this one, because as Bryan was saying, he likes how Tariq might be looking and shaping up against this squad, even with the murderer's row of hitters. So maybe we have Laura B over on the YouTube Shorts feed asking of the Nerfy recommendations today. I know it always gets a little scary when you're asking for a Phil's lineup to not get one across with that top of that order. But I don't know if the pitching matchup could be what we expect. We know the Tigers probably aren't going to be adding much to it. That could be the Nerfy candidate for today. Hop below in the comments and let us know which ones you're eyeing. Also on the YouTube Shorts feed, we had Kevin chiming in, and guys, we apologize for the little technical difficulty we had. We are back, we are rocking, so no worries there. But Kevin wanted to hear about the Brew Crew, Bryce Wilson, the righty opposing Andrew Haney, the lefty. So a little split there, but this price also a short one. You can really make a case for either side in this one. At least that's what the odds makers are saying as far as the pricing as this one's concerned. So Texas, Milwaukee for you, Steve, Mr. $2 Tuesday. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this is not my $2 Tuesday play, so I don't want anybody to think I'm giving that out here. This is not a strong opinion for me, but I do think it's an interesting game to talk about, Dan, because the Texas Rangers are still, until they lose in October, which they might not even make it that far, they are the defending world champs, and they're on the outside looking in right now. So at some point, I see them start to play up the potential. We haven't seen that yet. Meanwhile, the Brewers, I don't want to say they're running away with the NL Central. They're only 5 games up, but they're really the only quality team in that division. And the Cat agrees. The Cat plays. So, look, I mean, this is a situation in which on the surface, Milwaukee's been the better team this year. Like you said, it's a short price. They're at home. But I keep waiting for a wake-up call from Texas, so I'm kind of hesitant in these games. I would lean Rangers. I do think there's some upside still there in Arlington, even on the road tonight. And they had won 4 straight until losing the opener last night against Peralta. And Milwaukee's hitting the ball pretty decent as well. They put up some hits and runs, actually, in San Diego, a very non-offensive friendly ballpark. So instead of the side, let's look at the total. Over 9 here. It's sitting on that key number. Over 9 would be my recommendation.
All I know is that our man Eric D is pumped more than anyone about the sighting of Bryan's cat. He always, every time that Bryan's on, he's like, if someone's giving a breakdown and we hear the cat, it's an auto bet for him, Steve. So you just had an auto tail out of our man Eric D. I said the dog.
I said Texas, and the cat chimed in right away. So that's why I moved to the total. That's what I'm saying. I can't remember how this works. Cats hate dogs. So I mentioned the dog, so that means the cat likes the favorite, and the cat drinks. So it's got to be the Milwaukee Brewers for the cat. Bryan can interpret.
That's that. I mean, that's as good as logic as any right there. Steve Merril with a hell of a breakdown. There. Throw out anything that he said about the teams, the metrics. We have a breakdown on cats versus dogs. You don't get that anywhere, folks. Hit that like button. Come on. And make sure handicatting, is what we're doing here on a daily basis here. It's the puns are coming. Puns are coming. I'm ready to go, boys. But I'm wondering for you in this one, Bryan, or what the Cat's thinking on this game. I mean, Milwaukee is just a hot team at home, and this Texas team, whether you want to take them on the road, whether you want to take them at home, it's just been a team that I haven't been auto fading. But it's almost like my cap starts with, okay, is there anything to like about Texas in this spot? And is there for you, or how do you see this game shaking out? We lost you there, Bryan. I think your cat muted you.
Did my cat?
There, now we got you. Now you
got me? Maybe I was just plain old mumbling.
All good.
Yeah, I don't have much on this one. I did use Milwaukee as the free play on one of the shows yesterday, and that worked out well. But it took them a while to get there. They were behind most of that game, and they came back late to win it. I'm not a big fan of either one of these starters today. And both teams have talented offenses, although they don't always show it. Texas is better than Milwaukee's. But I will point out that some of the Texas players that have been slumping have started to come out of their slump a little bit lately. I would play, I don't play a lot of totals, but that would be the way that I would look here. Nine's a decent number, and we have two teams that can put up runs against two questionable starters, in my opinion. So it didn't, nothing on this game made my card, but if I had to play it, I'd look for the over.
Great. Yeah, definitely feel that. Check Bryan out, wt.buzz/BL. He's part of that Fill Your Cart promo. You can check out what he has over at his page. Grab that, throw some stuff in from Steve, from Teddy, from Prez, whoever you want. Throw it in your cart. Use that code, and you will save 25% instantly. It's a great way to boon your bank rolls here and do it at a hell of a nice price. Who do we got over in the chat? J.E. Thanks for tuning in, brother. We appreciate it. Asking about the D-backs money line. They're playing the Twins here. It's Fott on the mound. Joe Ryan posing for the road side here. I'm going to go back to you, Bryan, because as far as dogs are concerned, you're my dog whisperer. Regardless what the cat has to say. City by the Bay, by the way, he didn't mind that you were muted. He said, Bryan is such a legend, he doesn't need to even speak for me to listen. So we could leave you on mute all day, and City by the Bay will be picking up what you're putting down. What are you putting down in this one? Anything for you in Arizona and Minnesota? The question was, we taking that money line with Fott? What do you think?
Yeah, leaving me on mute all day. Don't give that opinion to my wife. She doesn't need any more ideas about me shutting me up. I hate to go against the Twins here. Twins are playing very well. The offense is really cranked up as of late, and Arizona is one of those teams that I just don't think is as good this year as they were last year. Obviously, the way they ended up, but they haven't shown me a lot of buy signs. Carroll's has not hit for power all year long, and he's their best player. And when he dropped down in slugging like he has, it's very concerning. I've said all along I thought he was injured, but they continue to run him out there every day. So maybe he just got hot early in that first season and hasn't been the same player. But I prefer the Minnesota side. The Bats are doing great. I prefer Ryan on the mound over Fott, although I think Fott's a pretty good pitcher. He got a good future. But Minnesota in this price range, I think, is the way I would look at this one. Just playing too well for me to not look at them in this contest.
Well, Steve, I'm wondering for you in this one, it ends up being anecdotal because you're looking at different staffs. You're looking at a day off that this team had. But if you're just riding the hot hand, no hotter hand, at least in Minnesota team history, has been what they've done with their pitching. What was it, Ober, who got the complete game victory? That was, again, against Oakland. I think maybe Bryan's cat could get a complete game victory against Oakland right now. But that's notwithstanding. It was Lopez, it was 17 straight against the Athletics, and then struck out 14 over 8 innings. So, hot pitching. Is there something infectious in that bullpen, or are you looking towards a potential Arizona play here as well? What do you think?
I got to be honest. I stopped listening 30 seconds ago. When you said the cat pitches, all I could think of, he's a southpaw. And I know Bryan loves bad jokes. I came up with that one myself.
Strong.
You got to admit,
strong
that's a good
bad
one.
Joke.
I was like, Dan, just finish. I got such a good joke. Just let me talk. No, that was a good one. Southpaw. Woo! I will talk about the pitchers, though, in this game. We talk about – there we go. I was giving him time.
Wasn't me.
I know. I was giving Joe time. I know Joe's at the horn there. We talk a lot about ERA for pitchers. I think it's an excellent stat. But you've heard me mention a lot of times that WHIP, walks, hits, innings pitched, I think is an even better stat. And these are two guys that have actually a much better WHIP on the season than their ERA. You look at Joe Ryan, 3.23 ERA is solid, but he has a 0.96 WHIP, which is fantastic. That's Ranger Suarez level to put it in perspective, but his ERA is almost double. And you look at Fatty, he's got a 4.4 ERA, but a 1.18 WHIP, which is also very good. So my point is these are two pitchers that are maybe a little bit better than the betting markets realize. My concern with Arizona is they've scored 1 run in 3 of their last 6 games. They've scored 5 in the other 3 each time, but they've had 1 run exact in 3 of their last 6. A very inconsistent offense. So I do think they struggled tonight against Ryan. Team totals are very interesting in this game. It's barely above a pick 'em price, like minus 125. Total 7.5. But if you look at the team totals right now on the WagerTalk live odds screen, Minnesota's 4.5, Arizona's 3.5. And the reason is because overnight the total was as high as 8.5 in some openers. So you're paying $1.40 juice. But once again, if you're looking at a team total here, it's kind of weird to see the Twins 4.5, Arizona 3.5 when it's almost a pick-em game. So lots of different things that stuck out to me in this one. But bottom line is I would prefer the under 7.5. 7 is a very key number. I think both pitchers remain a bit underrated. My concern with Fod, though, is that he had 7 walks his last 2 starts. He'd had 7 combined walks the 5 starts before that. So keep an eye on him. Maybe something's changing there. I'd probably lean Twins for that reason as well with Ryan against a inconsistent Arizona D-backs offense.
That's the thoughts there for you, Kev, as they're breaking it down. Whether you're Kevin or anyone else watching, make sure you hit the like button if you're on YouTube Shorts or on our YouTube main feed. We appreciate you hopping there into the chat, and it would be great if you could hit that like button for us. We would say thank you. And while you're hanging out in the YouTube desktop feed, our standard feed, as we call it, we do have a poll going there at the top in case you're just joining us. We're asking, we know you love getting the show here in the afternoon, but with day games and getting you some actionable info earlier in the day, we got a poll up. Are you in favor, yay or nay, moving the show all the way up to 11 a.m. So that would be 8 a.m. Pacific time, or you like it sitting at the 2 p.m. 2 p.m. slot. As it stands right now, earlier the better is just absolutely rolling, and I tend to agree on that one. I'm not trying to influence any voters. Don't try and get me caught up in that, Steve. But I'm just saying, our actionable info earlier in the day, I'm always down for that. Guys, we talked a lot of great games here, so we have to talk like the worst game on the board. It's obligatory that we have to do it. The Oakland A's and the LA Angels. I'm sorry. We won't talk too long about it, gentlemen. We do have best bets coming up here, and we're going to be talking Miami and Kansas City, and then the Pirates and the Reds. So we still have some decent ball games coming your way, and in the questions as well that you can keep on rolling here. But Spence Anderson, Steve, dare I say we're getting a decent price on the Angels? Is that like an oxymoron? Is that a possible thing to even be a true statement here, especially with how they've been at home this season? Anything for you in this one? Because it just stood out to me how ugly this one is in this one.
Call me an oxymoron. You better watch it, man. I'll come across that screen right now. Look, I voted. You get the other screen on there, but I'll show people later. Actually, I haven't voted, but I was going to go vote right as you said that, and I saw I had a voted sticker on the desk. So go vote in that YouTube poll. We might consider your votes. Probably be 11 a.m. because it looks like that's the front runner. Whenever bad teams are playing, I always kind of lean under just because one of the reasons they're bad teams is because normally there's not much offense either way, and Oakland's really cooled off offensively. They've had 3 runs exact in their last 3 games. They've scored 2 runs or less in 4 of their last 5. They lost every one of those games. So would look at the under here, but I would not disagree with the Angels as well, Dan. It's probably a cheap price. Angels really underachieved this season, but they've started to play a little bit better over the last several weeks.
How about you in this one, Bryan? Like I said, dare we say that this is a decent price? I mean, I get it. Neither of these teams are really, hey, let's run to the counter and put our hard-earned money on them. I understand that, but sometimes those games can have the best value, and 5-1 win yesterday for the Angels. Do we run it back there, or was this one just, man, that's ugly? I think I'm going to pick something else on this nice hefty baseball slate. Or any thoughts on the total either that we've seen tick down?
Yeah, we're talking about the under, and as we do, I just saw Bet Online just went down to 7.5 on this one. So
wow,
that's probably going to be the line by the time the game goes off. And I agree. I think the under is the way to go here. Anderson's been pitching above his head all season long. And as you mentioned, and was mentioned many times, Oakland's offense just is not scoring. unless they hit a home run, Oakland really has a hard time getting on the scoreboard. But Spence is a guy who I've been a little bit impressed with. I think his numbers are better than what they are showing, and they're not bad as it is. So we got a pretty good pitchers matchup here. Two teams, neither one that I think is very good offensively, especially lately. So yeah, the under is probably the way to go here. While you can catch that 8, I'm in agreement. I take the under.
I'm also going to throw this one back to you, Bryce, since you're our resident Cleveland guy here. A lot of folks were enamored with Baltimore opening up that series against the Guardians yesterday. But, I was talking earlier about some sneaky rolling teams. Not so sneaky has been what Cleveland's been doing. Like, they are legitimately starting to be talked about in the class that they probably should be. I think it's their 6th straight win that they picked up with that 3-2 decision against Baltimore yesterday, largely in part what the bullpen is doing. I mean, they are just picking people up and putting them down. And with you would typically think with these two teams, it's going to be offense, at least what we've come to expect from them recently here. That wasn't the case yesterday. It was pitching, and notably more so what you end up seeing on the Cleveland side of the equation. So anything stand out to you just as the state of Cleveland baseball, or the fact that it's a pretty nice plus price for a team who's looking for their 7th straight win?
I didn't play Cleveland yesterday. Class A pitched 4 of the previous 5 games, so I knew he wasn't going to pitch. And they went in and were able to get the 3-3 down in the 9th inning anyway. And that just tells you how good this back end of this Cleveland bullpen has been all season long. They've just been terrific. Anywhere from the 6th inning on, these guys have been great. They've got 5 or 6 guys. I mean, Sandlin's out of the lineup right now. He's hurt. But the rest of the guys in this lineup have really pulled together. So we've got something second half of the season, second half of a game. I think Cleveland gets a big advantage. Not that big of a Logan Allen fan, and Irvin's been pitching very well. I like the Baltimore side in the game slightly here, but I'm hoping Baltimore could take a lead. And we've talked a few times about the in-game betting and being able to get Cleveland on the back end of this, maybe down a run, and get them to come back. Or if it's an even game, I think they've got the advantage over Baltimore. Baltimore's back of the lineup when they're healthy, and they had their closer going last year. They were terrific. This year, not quite the same. They've had some problems in that regard, and as we've known, Baltimore's gotten a lot of injuries to their starters this year also. So they need to win with hitting. Prefer Baltimore first half, Cleveland second half, but I'm not going to bet the Baltimore first half. I'm going to wait and see how this turns out. See if I can get a bet in here on the Guardians in the second half of this game.
Best bets coming up here soon. We're going to talk Miami and Kansas City with our man Bryan Leonard there. Steve Merril going to give his thoughts on the Pirates and the Reds. Steve, I don't know if you want to add anything more on that Cleveland and Baltimore game. Great game to start off the slate here for sure. Looks like it should be another great one, as it was yesterday, if you like that defensive type of baseball. So you can add to that. And I'd also like you to answer a question that we have here from our man Bruce Cotney. It's something that we've talked about here before, but whenever we see new names, I like bringing back the points. It's always good to rehash them for people who maybe don't tune in here every day. And for those of you who do, we appreciate you doing so. But Bruce Cotney was asking about San Francisco finally breaking the losing streak. 5 games losing streaks. He says, what are your thoughts playing San Francisco again since breaking the streak? Maybe a little bit of wind in the sails. I will say in this game, Steve, it doesn't hurt. I mean, I don't know if you've seen a pitcher named for San Francisco, but it definitely doesn't hurt that there is a pitcher named for Chicago if you are looking to ride the San Francisco Giants, because we'll be seeing a guy who, last year might have been good. This year, a healthy 12th ERA that we're seeing out of the starter for the Cubs. So great question here from Cotney. We've touched upon it before, riding streaks, backing off of streaks, if there is positive regression. Any thoughts on this game or how it relates to finally getting off the snide for this Giants side?
Yeah, I'll give Adam Trigger a couple of shout-outs from yesterday's show. First of all, I didn't even realize Cleveland had the best win percentage in the American League until he pointed that out yesterday, because the Yankees had played like 5 more games, so they had more wins. Cleveland has the second best winning percentage in all of baseball after your Philadelphia Phillies. So that's how under the radar they've been this season, that even I didn't realize their win percentage was second best in baseball, and their wins are up there. But still, the bullpen's been fantastic. They are a legitimate contender, at least as of now. As far as the Giants, another thing Adam Trigger and I talked about yesterday when I was on with them is that the Giants are doing a lot of these one-inning starts and then bring somebody else in. Miller yesterday, and they have undecided listed today, which is basically kind of what they were doing yesterday. There is some stat sites I'm looking at. They have a Wisenhunt as the projected starter. But like you said, the big handicap here, the one certainty is that Hendricks has been awful. Now, when a guy is this bad for this long into the season, several months in, you got to ask yourself, why is he still in the rotation? There's always several different reasons. First of all, they might have nothing else in the minors. I don't think that's necessarily the case here. But normally it's because they still think he has something. However, there is a third reason we don't see as often, and that's just because it's a long veteran that has had something. They might think he still has something, but he don't have nothing still. And I think that's Hendricks here. This is a guy that's been around for a while. I think they're holding on to him too long. He's like a running back that lasts into his 30s and just hangs on, or an NBA player that plays 10 minutes a game after a great career and just kind of hangs on. You would expect at some point this many bad starts in a row, they wouldn't have him in the rotation if there wasn't a reason. I can't find one here, and he's just getting shellacked. The only team that did not hit him hard in his last 6 or 7 starts were the Pirates back in early May. And the Pirates have been one of the worst offensive teams in baseball. Now, he was out for a month. He came back, obviously made his first start 6 days ago last Wednesday. He did pitch a lot better, 1 run in 5 innings. So maybe it was an injury thing, and maybe he's kind of righted the ship. We'll take a wait-and-see approach with Hendricks. But once again, he's in the lineup for a reason. Maybe the Cubs feel like he still has something, or he wasn't healthy and he is now, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, that's Steve giving you a good breakdown there. Final game on the card. Hop below in the comments. Let us know how you're looking to bet that one. Bryan, I don't know if you have anything else to add. If not, tell us what you have up over at WagerTalk.com, and also tell us which way we should be betting this high total in Kansas City as the Royals are taking on the Miami Marlins. I'm seeing 9.5s across my board. How are you looking to bet that one, and how can folks ride with you over at WagerTalk?
Yeah, a little of everything. I'll touch on the Kyle Hendricks situation. They do have a couple guys in the minors that they could bring up, but the cat's telling you who the winner of this one is.
We like that.
Kyle Hendricks' exit velocity is 85.4, hard hit rate 30.4, so he's still doing what he does. That's keeping the opposition off balance. He just doesn't. When they hit him, they seem to hit him pretty well. That's what's going on there. This may be his last start. He looked good in his last one, but they've got a couple other guys coming back from injury, so it could be his last start for the Cubs. As for what's going on today, I've got 5 plays, including a 4% play going today. It's a run line, and I don't have many run line plays, but when I do, they're quality selections, and that's up there for us today. 5 plays. You get the everything I've got today and save 25% off for that. Or if you just want the 4% play, we've got that up there for you also. Save 25%. But I'm going to take a look at that Miami-Kansas City game. And, it's well known that the Marlins are having major starting pitching problems. One by one, the Marlins starters have been getting injured, and now they're getting tested by that attrition. That said, Yanni Sharonis he's making his 11th start in the last 2 seasons. And although he's not one of your better known pitchers, take a look at what he has done. Looking at his career numbers, he goes back all the way to 2018. Only once has he had an ERA higher than 4. He's usually 3.85 or better every season. That's pretty impressive. I know last year he wasn't very good. But, his problem is he gives up home runs. His barrel average in his career is 8.0, where league average is 6.9. But he's playing in a stadium here in Kansas City that doesn't allow many home runs. Seth Lugo, we all know the season he's having. He's been able, I talked about this many times, how it was a great situation for Kansas City to sign him. He's a fly ball pitcher. And you've got 2 teams coming in here in Kansas City that I don't think have a lot of power. You take a look at the Royals lately, talking about teams that aren't hitting. In the last 6 games, they've scored 4, 0, 0, 2, 3, and 1. I know there's rain in the forecast in Kansas City, so it may cut short these starting pitchers being on the mound, but I like the bullpens, and this line is too high when it comes to the total. I like the under here. The under I use as a free play on my site, and that's the way I'm taking a look at this one here. The total's just too high considering these offenses of both these teams.
Yeah, and it does seem like that forecast has at least lightened up a little bit here. So I think we should be good to get that one in. Again, I'm no weatherman, but a lot of the time the weathermen are no weathermen either. But I think we're good, and we're looking towards the under Miami and Kansas City at that 9.5. And as Bryce said, check that out. 5 plays, count 'em, 5 loaded over at his page. That's a no-brainer. Throw that on into your cart. Save 25% alongside what you can grab over at Steve Merril's page. $2 Tuesday handicapper. I don't know if you really need to get 25% off $2, but if you do, more power to you. Steve, you're looking at the Pirates and the Reds. Tell the folks about the play you got rocking, because tonight is the first 5%er of the year in MLB for Steve. Doesn't release them very often, so happens that it lines up with a time that you can grab Steve for just $2. Tell the folks about that and let us know how we should be looking at the total in this Pirates and Reds game this evening, Steve.
Yeah, why not fill your card up with the $2 play? You get it for $1.50. Then it becomes $1.50 Tuesday. It's an even better value, but it's a tremendously strong play no matter how you cut it. In fact, I've not had a 5% MLB best bet all season, so this is by default my strongest baseball play this season. In fact, it's been nearly 2 years since I've had a 5% MLB best bet. You got to go back to July of 22, and oh, yes, it won. And it's not just baseball. I'm extra selective with 5%ers. In fact, I've had only 3 other 5%ers since last year, and all 3 of those have won in all sports. So this is a strong play. It's excellent time to have it because I'm seeing it well. 13-3 hot streak, including another win last night. 19-6 all sports, the last 25 best bets over the last couple weeks. And this is now my strongest and first and only 5% play so far this MLB season. And it's $2 Tuesday. What a perfect time to release it. Go get it right now. Save 94% off the normal rate. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. And while you're there, be sure to always check out the daily free play. If you like the $2 Tuesday best bet, how about the $0 everyday free play? And it's a game that's always a last cut, not quite strong enough to be a client play, but still maybe a 1 to 2% opinion. And the one I'm using tonight actually is on my page right now with analysis, and that's the under between Pittsburgh and Cincinnati. I want to talk about it here on the show as well. Hunter Green projects to have a nice outing here. In fact, in his 5 career starts against the Pirates, a 1.55 ERA, and this current Pittsburgh lineup has hit career just 16 for 76, 211 batting average against Green. And Pittsburgh, as I mentioned earlier in the show, has been one of the weaker offensive teams across the board, bottom 5 in almost all major offensive categories this season. They've been having to get it done with pitching. And with Keller on the mound tonight, they have a good shot to get it done with pitching. So I like the under in this game, under 9. And just to show how important it is to handicap on a daily basis, that best bet winner last night that added to my 13-3 hot streak was the over in this game, 16 runs. I'm not reading too much into that. I thought it was a bad pitching matchup last night for both teams, and that's why the scoring happened. Neither offense is suddenly hot. These are 2 below-average offensive teams, 2 good pitchers tonight. So now we're coming back with the under as a free play. Pirates, Reds, under 9 at 7 Eastern tonight on Tuesday. And don't forget my strongest baseball play this season, the first 5%er in baseball in nearly 2 years, goes tonight, Tuesday night, $2 Tuesday. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
Check that out, and definitely check out Bryan over there for that fill your cart promo that we have rocking. Get 25% off anything that you put in there. We are an under show today, even we went a good 47, getting you some winners here. Kansas City, Miami, under the 9.5. That's the best bet here for Bryan Leonard. Get his true best bets over at his page. And Steve Merril going with the free play best bet, Pirates, Reds, under the 9. And you can grab his best bet, the best bet that he's had in quite some time, for just $2 over at his page right this moment. Great to be back with you, folks. Shout out to the chat. Jay Jerk is excited for some 11 a.m. baseball action. That's right. Stay tuned. We might just be sliding in earlier to the bases here in the day, getting you actionable info at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific time. When is that going to happen here with first pitch? You'll have to stick around and find out. Keep your eyes peeled. And while you're hanging out with us, hit that like button, hit that subscribe, hit that follow. It's a great way to say thanks to these guys before you head on over to WagerTalk.com. We appreciate you, chat. We appreciate, of course, Steve and Bryan getting you some winners, hopefully here on the card for you. We will be locked and loaded Wednesday. Another show coming your way, but until then, you don't have to go far. You can check out the video on your screen right now or check out the links in the description below. Keep getting all that info you need to cash on all the sports you love. Do it on an hourly minute here, right on Wager Talk TV. Baseball, basketball, hockey, those two are done, and we're done here as well. We'll see you next time on First Pitch.